Bigfoot, Carly House, Red Voodoo, and more to be announced. Google ST Productions.
Over the last 10 years, and seeing the amazing life changes that come along with this. Not only have I been able to radically change my life, no longer suffering with chronic pain, no longer with asthma, no longer with any health conditions, no longer taking any medications, and feeling empowered to know what to do anytime something comes up, to having the resources to help my body heal itself naturally, and being able to help my kids and my family live this lifestyle as well. I've been so blessed to be healthier now than I've ever been in my entire life. I've been so blessed to see other families radically change their health, to get their lives back, to get their vitality back, to reverse health conditions, to get off medications, to get back to doing what they love, to being the best version of themselves. And that's why I absolutely love what I do. Our mission is to help empower families to live a healthy life naturally, to guide them through the process of getting and staying well by getting to the real cause of their issues, to show them ways not to keep recreating the same issues through lifestyle stresses, emotional, physical, and chemical, things that are around us every day, things that aren't completely going away. The goal is just to minimize these things and help your body better adapt. And instead of managing a symptom, instead of managing a health condition, well, finding ways to get to the cause and actually helping the body heal. That is the coolest part about what we do.
An APR financing on 2021 RAV4 and RAV4 Hybrid, or get $500 when you finance with Toyota on 2022 Highlander and Highlander Hybrid. Toyota, let's go places. Offers available for TFS to buyers with premium rated credit. Excludes RAV4 Prime. Ends 1/3/22.
Meaty meditations. Breathe in the bacon. Now breathe out the bacon. Breathe in the bacon. Breathe out the bacon. In bacon, out bacon.
Time for bacon. Find delicious satisfaction with the double Western Bacon Cheeseburger. Only at Carl's Jr.
For a better job, a better future, to be part of something better, this is the time. We've taken our experience creating accredited programs designed from the job up and built them into a better university. University of Massachusetts Global. Find what you're looking for to better yourself in a visionary online environment with better student support ready to take you to a better level. Better enroll now at umassglobal.edu, formerly Brandman University.
Is this deal for real?
Attention, woman in the nosh aisle. Yes, those deals are real.
What is this place?
Grocery outlet, where you can get otherworldly deals on natural and organic products every day.
I'm feeling such bliss.
It's the deals. They do that to people.
Grocery outlet, bargain market.
Punch up your power with Peloton Boxing. Work out to your favorite music with 100+ artist series classes. For a limited time, experience it all with a $550 value off the Peloton Bike Plus, including $300 off the Bike Plus and free setup and delivery. A $250 value. Terms apply.
So we decided to sing about it.
Get so strong for your South Pole. Charmin keeps your undies whiter than the North Pole. Shiny, hiney, a brand new year. Come with us, Charmin. Happy New Year. Hey, oh, holidays, we Charmin. Clean and green and bright. May all your undies Charmin clean white.
Charmin Ultra Strong just cleans better. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
For $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 1-year contract. And score 12 times the speed for the same internet price when you add Xfinity Mobile. That's more speed, and you'll save hundreds over AT&T. That's incredible speed at an amazing value, so you can keep new resolutions going strong. Plus, ask how to get $300 back and a 5G phone on us during the Xfinity Hello 2022 sales event. Don't wait. Go to Xfinity.com/sale, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay. Ends 1/10/22. Restrictions apply. New Connect Internet 50 megabits per second customers only. Equipment taxes and fees extra and subject to change. After term, regular rates apply. Compares monthly service charge for Xfinity 600 megabits per second to AT&T 500 megabits per second each with one unlimited mobile line for a year as of 10/6/21. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of mobile usage.
We came here to have a good time at our 2022 iHeart-Radio Music Awards.
Awards.
Where the iHeart-Radio app comes to life.
Coming back to Fox March 22nd.
Oh, man.
Live from Los Angeles.
iHeart-Radio does their music awards a little bit differently.
Are you guys ready? Where your favorite artists will go home winners.
And the iHeart-Radio Music Awards goes to...
Our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Awards.
Phone number and network you already have. Already got a 5G phone? Keep that too, because TracFone runs on America's best networks now with 5G nationwide. Plus, we've got unlimited talk and text smartphone plans starting at just $20. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. 5G nationwide access requires a 5G capable device. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
At your California Ford dealers. New inventories arriving daily. And during the year-end sell-a-thon, your California Ford dealers are giving you 2 big ways to get great deals. 1, come in today and drive home a brand new Ford with incredible deals only available during the sell-a-thon. Or 2, come in and order a custom Ford vehicle and we'll lock in these year-end offers right now. That's right, pick all the custom features you want and we'll lock in these year-end deals now on the Ford you've always wanted. During the year-end sell-a-thon, take your pick across the full Ford lineup and get the last great deals of the year on America's best-selling brand for 11 years in a row. Visit buyfordnow.com to see all the deals and the lineup. Then come and visit your California Ford dealers today, because these deals won't last for long. The year-end sell-a-thon ends January 3rd, so come and see your California Ford dealers right now. Best selling Ford deals from 2010 to 2020 consumer year over.
Let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C Sports. This is Charlton with Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. Of course, the people who love sports, all stairs and level war bienvenidos, Grande Deportes, the Vini Vici. I'm learning some Spanish and some other things too. It's all poquito. I'm learning a little bit. It's all fair level work. What did you want to say? Welcome to the show. A beautiful December the 27th, 2021. Welcome to the show. Man, he survived Christmas. Santa Claus was, I guess he knows that you've been naughty or nice. Oh, Lord. Sometimes Santa's naughty and nice. That's an inside joke, if that makes sense to you. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. You can buy and test drive yours still in Charlton, Big C Sports Center, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, you can follow Big C Sports Podcast on 20 podcast applications all around the world. When I say 20, that means you can give that some praise. Get 20 some praise. Come on, give us some praise. Don't be shy. 20 applications all over the world, started with one at Salem Media. You can find Big C Sports Podcast on Google Podcasts, Alexa, Spotify Speaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeart-Radio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Podcast Addict. And number 10, Pod Chaser. Give me some praise. Trying to catch my breath. You know you're in good shape. You can count to 10 without huffing and puffing. Oh, just trying to be flippant, trying to be funny. Hoping for a great 2022. You can follow Big C Sports on Geosaphon Podcast, number 12, Podtail Podcast, 13, YouTube Podcast, number 14, Hubhopper Podcast, number 15, Stitcher Podcast, 16, Radio Line Podcast, 17, Repod Podcast, number 18, Luminary Podcast, and number 19, Listen Notes Podcast, and number 20, Podcast Wise. Give that some praise. You follow Big C Sports on Podcast Wise. I said, give that some praise all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. What a day. It's been raining cats and dogs in California, and I do mean cats and dogs. You can also follow Big C Sports, that is streaming on 4 TV platforms from Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Give that some praise. I said, give it some praise. You are special. You are special, special, special. Everybody's special. Hopefully 2022 will bring everyone everything they've hoped and dreamed for. I really do want to pay attention to my family legacy, my great-grandmother, Mamo, and my great-grandfather, Pop, known for making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. Also known for saying, boy, get out of that barn. So, really do appreciate that. Want to also say my grandmother, Muddia, Sierra, just a fabulous person. My beautiful mother helped start a Head Start program in Northern California and helped win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give that some praise. You try winning a Little League championship. The only woman head coach in the league. And some of those parents that say, I will not have my kids be taught by one of them. And she would just say, quit. Give her praise. She almost said, quit. Have them quit then. The only black woman in our Little League contest, in our Little League league. And then there was a lot of, so-called white Christians that will pull their kids off the team. They said, no, never. I would never listen to one of them. We won the league anyway. Some of those kids want to know, hey, can we join the team now that we go to make the playoffs? He said, no. Hey, you want to quit? Really do appreciate that. And then my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, a former pastor, also had 2 churches in Oakland, California. And they built the 3rd one in Central California. Had 2 service stations in Oakland, California as well. And my grandmother, Alberta Curry, helping my grandfather with the churches and also with the service stations. My father, retired Air Force fighter pilot and chief mechanic, helped making sure the planes could fly high so that we could all stay safe at night. My beautiful brother Todd, with his bombastic voice, oftentimes sounded a lot like thunder. And then lightning is all spare in love and war. Really do appreciate that. My son Malcolm, my handsome son Malcolm, a college student, very intelligent, gives me NBA stats all over the NBA. My daughter Daisy would help me set up for sporting events with Coaches King to the West Coast. Really do appreciate that. And then Big C with his wealth of knowledge in the past. Also, give everybody some praise. I want to say give everybody some praise. I really love doing that. I hope that everybody had a very Merry Christmas. God knows your heart. You are special. No matter what you're going through, you are special. Want to also thank my pastor for giving me some nice prayers over the weekend. Sometimes it's like you wonder what you're going through in life, and there's a sports theme to it. Like God hears who's talking bad about you. God hears who's putting negative things out there in the universe about you. He also knows who's praising you. So if you have God on your side, it doesn't matter who's against you. And that pastor's right. I want to give Pastor some praise. Give that some praise. Give that some praise. Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you will prosper. Keep that in mind. And that's why, even as a little boy, I love saying, let's get ready to rumble. Like they're going to rumble tonight. Already kicked off with the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, and the New Orleans Saints. What a loud stadium down in New Orleans. We all get ready to rumble. Big C Sports, ESPY nominated through Disney Corporation. I believe I won the ESPY for Best Sports Podcast in 2022. The award would be given to Big C Sports. Really do appreciate that. Got to go to Hollywood for that. So I thank for even the acknowledgement. So I'm claiming it. You got to claim it. You got to speak things that be not as though they were. And so I thank Disney Corporation for that. Why? No scripts, no 3 teleprompters, no 3-bit teleprompters, no producer in my ear telling me what to say. All I got is my ears, a little bit of earwax. I do the show with my higher self. And I really do appreciate since coming. I was talking to some people from Salem Media just over the weekend about how things have grown. Well, Big C Sports, they say, how do you do it? I produce, I direct the topics, I broadcast every show, and then I do all of the sound effects that's given by the agency. Everybody needs sound effects too. We all need that. And then at the same time, I do the storytelling. I do the play-by-play that you saw over the weekend. Steph Curry for 3. They did their thing down in Phoenix, and they beat the Phoenix Suns, and they had a chance to win that championship. And so everybody's appreciating what's going on in the world of sports. Really want to give NBA basketball some praise. I do appreciate all the stuff that happens in the world of sports. And then I upload the platform. It goes out to, actually it's 20 now, 20 podcast applications all over the world. And that's done by the agency out of New York City. And then I really do appreciate that. I've never missed a show since starting Big C Sports Podcast. And that was back on September the 15th, actually September the 12th, 2015. Never, ever missed a show. And really do appreciate that. I love quoting the Bible. One of the better things that I love that my pastor talked about over the weekend is Genesis 13:15. It says, for all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever. And the book of James chapter 4 verse 2 said we have not because we ask not. So if you want something to just ask, give the Bible some praise. I said give it praise, praise, praise. There was a quote scripture given to me. It was amazing over the weekend. Isaiah 54:17, we'll talk about that. But also Isaiah 50:7 has someone prophesied over me over the weekend at church. Unexpected, didn't even ask for it. So bringing me up out of so many people and said, keep your head up, keep going forward. God's got a blessing for you. So big, that you won't be able to contain it. I'm like, why did he pull me out of church and say that? But I do appreciate it, and he understands what's going on. So give that some praise. Give that some praise. If God's on your side, nobody can be against you. I also want to say to our veterans, we have a Veteran Crisis Hotline. I love giving it out because our veterans, they need help. We all need help. Just like Pastor pulled me out of the church over the weekend and said a special prayer for me. Out of all the people in the church, I wonder why, but I kind of understand it now. But the veterans need people to pull them up also. They are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know any veterans going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. If you believe in veterans, give them some praise. I love the praising our veterans, not just saying thank you for the service, but if you need help, help is out there. You just got to ask for it. You got to reach out and touch somebody's hand. Really do appreciate that. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, let there be light. Open your cell phone to say, play Big C Sports Podcast, and you'll hear our apps pop up all over the world, as well as see them streaming on 4 TV platforms. There's so many great things coming for 2022 from Big C Sports doing work that's going to be on television, and I really do appreciate that more than just streaming, so I really do appreciate that from what's all the hard work that's going in to Big C Sports. And what my pastor said is, Charlton, oftentimes when people are doing things, you may not see it, you may not understand it, but God is working in your favor. And I'm saying that to everybody that's tried to start something. I believe that Big C Sports will become a billion-dollar corporation just like BET with Bob Johnson did it. Nobody believed in Bob Johnson before he did it. Nobody sees all the hard work that's going on behind the scenes before he did it. But why did my pastor put me out of church out of about 300 people and say, God's going to open some doors for you? You already know what I'm talking about. Just claim it. Just claim it. Don't worry about all the junk that's out there right now. And I understand it. But I said nothing to him about it. And I just want to say, give that some praise. Everybody needs somebody to believe in him, especially when the man of God speaks to your spirit and says, keep blessing. And they prophesied over Big C Sports Podcast. And a lot of great things happening with my family. It's all friend level. Where I want to say, Valley, happy to be appreciated and affiliated with ValleyHomesWeekly.com. If you're looking at real estate in your neck of the woods, go to the National Real Estate Post. All over the country, you can find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. The NationalRealEstatePost.com. If you want to know what's going on with mortgage in your neck of the woods, just go to the MortgageDailyNews.com. That's MortgageDailyNews.com, and you can find out what's going on with real estate and also mortgages. Also coming to the Big C team for 2022, actually joining the company for people looking for a business startup capital, real estate investments. You can have repairs or renovation working capital, down payment assistance, investing in the stock market, debt consolidation, paying off student loans, work with over 240 lenders looking to fund you, have minimum requirements, 650 credit score, and we talk about the income W-2 over the last 2 years. It's for self-employed people as well as people who have W-2. You get that with the Big C team looking to help people create real estate opportunities, and they can loan between $10,000 and $400,000 cash. And it happens within 10 days once you have all of your documents in. When banks say no, then the Big C team can say yes. If you're looking to get some financing, so the bank tells you no, go to the Big C team, 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And at least get that second opinion. It's all fair and level way. You get that with Big C Sports. You can follow us all over the world. Really do appreciate that. Also, I just want to say for everybody that's looking for whatever you need in life, COVID's been doing whatever it's doing, but just stay healthy, stay prayed up, wash your hands, do all you got to do. For you people that want to go out and bet, my goodness, who would have ever thought that some of the games that were called over the weekend would have been called? The Dallas Cowboys had their biggest win I think they've ever had by knocking off the Washington football team. Man, just a lot of good football played over the weekend. Tampa Bay, they clinched their division, the South and the AFC South. Dallas clinched in their division for the NFC East. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, they clinched in the AFC West And then also Green Bay Packers, they clinched in the North, in the NFC, in their division. So really want to say for all of those teams that clinched a playoff spot, and they're still counting, give them some praise. There's some playoff teams coming. Give them some praise for that. Really do appreciate some good NFL football that we've seen over the weekends. I also want to say this segment sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on this game. Sports fans, when you're watching the big game, you want to eat the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all this exotic meat? You ever had exotic meat? Rumor has it tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hands. As do most things taste better in your mouth than it does in your hands. I can guarantee it. I've tried it myself. In fact, I just finished eating on the Big C Burger. There's another commercial talking about coming to sponsor Big C Sports. It's called Prilosec. Prilosec Zero, if that makes any sense. Prilosec Zero. And they said it's good for fighting heartburn. I said, if you want to fight heartburn, just eat more Big C Burgers. I have no heartburn eating the Big C Burgers. Tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hands. I really do appreciate it. Going to take what's called the Big C pause. And when we come back, going to talk about some college sports. Some bowl games have canceled. Some games are planned on. Just had a game today with Western Michigan and Nevada earlier this morning. That game was played in Detroit. Also got some NBA stuff that happened over the weekend. Talking about tonight's schedule coming up in NBA basketball as well. And then the NFL football roundup, I'll give it to you Big C style. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause. In the words of former governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Terminator, I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network. In fact, 20 podcast applications all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. The Big C Sports podcast is heard all over the world. All over the world. In fact, all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. Got some football to talk about, but I do want to also pay just some respect to my pastor over the weekend. He said, God has a plan for your life. You were born to do something very special that only you can do. God connects people through churches and through purposes that can bless you. He can bring forth in their own unique vision within a united vision. And I encourage you to pick up the torch and pursue your destiny, and I really do appreciate that. I had no idea that he brought that to me. Don't worry about people. Do the best you can. And those who are meant to be on your side, they will be on your side. Those who are not, they won't. It's all fair and level. Your faith and salvation comes through God. That's why I love honoring God on BC Sports Podcast. I want to get into some NFL football over the weekend. The Green Bay Packers, obviously on Thursday night, the Tennessee Titans with a 20-17 win over the 49ers. Jimmy G has something wrong with his finger, so maybe Trey Lance is going to get thrown into the battle sooner than he wanted to, but I'm sure he wants to play. Just a matter of how they can fit him into the team. But I also want to say for the Green Bay Packers, what a big win they had in clinching their division over the Cleveland Browns. It was 24-22 on Sunday on Fox Sports. And there's so much talk about what can Cleveland do, or what can Brown do for you? The truck, I couldn't pass that point up. What can Brown do for you? Well, Brown can do a lot of things, but the Browns, they got out to a quick 6-0 lead. Touchdown Baker Mayfield. He made sure that it wouldn't hold up very long. He had 4 interceptions in the game. I think if you look at touchdown Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's thrown any interceptions over his past 5 games. Baker threw 4 in one game. It's just something how they had over 200 yards rushing in the game. And I saw, well, he was 31 of 20, actually he was 21 of 36, 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he had 4 interceptions. Could have been picked up a 5th time. But something that was odd to me, and I even talked about it on Friday's NFL preview, they have one of the better running games in the NFL. And I said for Cleveland to have a chance to win, they got to run the ball more. And they threw the ball 36 times. More than they rushed it. But they had over 200 yards rushing. They had nearly as many yards rushing as they had passing. There was a down where they had, I think Chubb got a carry for 12 yards on the first down. And that was late in the game in the 4th quarter. From there, they were about 12 yards away from field goal range. And Baker Mayfield threw first pass incomplete, second pass incomplete, third pass intercepted. Does that make any sense? What do you not like about rushing for 200 yards with one of the better running games? But I said they would do that. That's why they wouldn't win. I mean, Green Bay's defense could be had by the run, at least in that game. But that, to me, was just one of the things that ended up. Nick Chubb ended up 126 yards and a touchdown on 17 carries. He also caught 3 passes for 58 yards. You got 17 carries, 126 yards, and they wouldn't give him the ball another 7 times to get 24 carries. That probably would have got him right about 165 yards, the way he was running the ball. But I guess they got what they wanted. All fair and level war. Cleveland's leading receiver was Rashad Higgins with 5 receptions, 58 yards. Jarvis Landry had 4 catches, 55 yards. And Chubb, think about this. Chubb were the only Browns with more than 26 receiving yards. Why not just run the ball? He had 127 yards on 17 carries. Sorry. Why not run the ball more? Doesn't make any sense. Indianapolis Colts, I did say, not that I'm right, but I'm usually wrong so many times, I got to at least mention, if I'm right once in every blue moon, why not mention that I'm right once in every blue moon? Okay? But when I think about what happened in that game, down in the desert, this game was sponsored by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all this exotic meat? And a horse, a colt is a horse, and a cardinal is exotic meats. It was 22-16 Indianapolis over Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, for whatever reason, I know when Hopkins went down, they lost a lot of their offense. People may not look at it that way, but I saw that coming too. Arizona finished the game with a second missed field goal and 11 total penalties at home. Isn't that crazy? Kyler Murray, third-year quarterback, made a brilliant 57-yard run to set up an early touchdown, but he struggled from the rest of the evening, and he was off the mark too many times on his throws, and that caused the drives to come to a halt. Now, Murray, he did finish 27 of 43, 245 yards and a touchdown, but much of the passing yardage occurred in kind of a makeup time, in garbage time as people call it. He had 79 passing yards in the opening half. Isn't that something? What happened the rest of the game? Now, he turned in a decent performance for you fantasy guys with 74 rushing yards, but this is not about winning a fantasy. I love the chocolate fantasy growing up as a young boy. The reason that I thought that Indianapolis could win this game is one of the NFL's best running backs, Jonathan Taylor. Didn't have as many yards as Edmonds overall, but he broke the 100-yard rushing mark, 108 yards on 27 carries. Despite those numbers, the Cardinals did a good job on Taylor, and that was following his first attempt, which went for 43 yards. But he had 65 yards on 26 carries overall after the 43-yard run. So they played good against him, but just not good enough, if that makes sense. Now, there's another thing that I think that helped it's just my opinion. I know that Arizona has the great quarterback in Murray who can get outside of the pocket, but he can also run himself out of plays where maybe if he had a little more patience, he would stay in the pocket and find his receivers a little bit more often. That's just my opinion. I want to look at Michael Pittman also. Paced Indianapolis in receiving, caught 8 catches for 82 yards. He did not catch a touchdown, but that's good production. So congratulations for Indianapolis, making me look not so bad. At least I got one game right over the weekend. Just one game right, I'll take it over the weekend. No, I got more than one game right, but I'll still take that over the weekend. But what a game by Indianapolis, going down into the desert and knocking off at one time what people thought was the best team in the NFL. And the Arizona Cardinals. The New York Jets, 26. Jacksonville Jaguars, 21. And when you think about NFL football, these teams are rebuilding. Neither Lawrence nor Wilson thrived in the game. But when I think about it, going back to the April where Lawrence was the top pick for the Jacksonville out of Clemson, he opened with a deep pass and appearance flag that drew with Laquan Treadwell on the initial drive to set up a field goal. But for everybody saying, we got to position ourselves to get the number 1 draft pick, got to get that number 1 guy. Well, everybody wanted to get Lawrence. And he was great in college. And he's probably going to end up being pretty good, too. He finished 26 of 39, 280 yards. He also scrambled 6 times for 37 yards. And somewhat of a disappointment for Lawrence because he was battling the defense. And then Gardner Minshew torched a few weeks ago, and he couldn't do it himself. But Lawrence showed enough positive things that's going to give them some good vibes going into the next couple of seasons as he's going to keep improving. But moving on to the number 2 pick. Remember, these players were called can't miss. Got to get these guys. They're going to be difference makers for your franchise in the 2 of the worst teams in the league with Jacksonville and the New York Jets. So now Wilson came out of BYU, had a big play in the first half when he scrambled for a 52-yard touchdown run. And that play featured some of the worst tackling efforts, in my opinion, He was 4 times 91 yards in his score, but they got him in to pass the ball. But he couldn't pass enough to help them get a win. He was 14 of 22, 102 yards, and they spent everything they could to make him a first-round draft pick for the Jets. That's just a fact. A first round, and I still wonder why Colin Kaepernick couldn't even get a call. 14 of 22, 102 yards. And so when the draft came out, people were saying he's a can't miss, gonna really turn the Jets around. They even traded Sam Darnold came out of USC to get Wilson. 14 of 22, 102 yards. Colin Kaepernick can't even get a phone call. Isn't that something? Aside from the quarterbacks and their draft position, their teams are not winning. You'll notice in the NFL, teams are winning with good defenses. It's just my opinion. Michael Carter ended up being the leading rusher in the game. He had 118 yards on 16 carries, but did not finish in the end zone. And Wilson, an offensive lineman, Connor McDermott, they had a really somewhat poor game. I mean, 102 yards is not a lot to write home about. It's just not. But go back to when they were saying this guy's going to turn the Jets around. 102 yards passing. And he played all 4 quarters. I want to say congratulations. You get the NFL contract. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of quarterbacks out there. I'm still wondering why Colin Kaepernick can't get an interview. Doesn't make any sense. Someone should call to make that phone call. It's not that hard to pick up the phone and call them. Make a phone call and do it. How you like those apples? But Buffalo Bills 33, New England Patriots 21. And it's a game that I missed. I didn't bet, but I said that Coach Bill Belichick would help win that game just because he's a better coach than McDermott. But there's something with touchdown Josh Allen out of Fireball High School in Central California, and I believe he went to Kings River College down in Wheatley and then Wyoming. He's a real deal. A real deal that went into New England, and he's beaten them twice the last 2 times he's played in Foxborough. The Bills come away with a win. Last year and this year. Maybe the Patriots have peaked a little bit too soon, but the Patriots certainly regret not running more offense than they probably should have. Drew Jones had 13 passes in the first half. He completed just 5 of them. So some of the wheels have maybe come off of him a little bit. He had an interception that was a result of a couple of deflections. Mac Jones threw some wild and accurate passes at times out of Alabama, especially the 2-minute drill prior to halftime. They were able to hide his flaws. But again, here's a player that everyone was saying, we got to move everything around to get him to be our quarterback. And Bill Belichick got him to be on New England's team. But did it help him? It just didn't. We thought it did, and maybe it will. But there's not many rookie quarterbacks that are making a big difference. When you look at Allen, despite missing Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis, still performed very well. Had some mistakes like missing Stephon touchdown Diggs for an early touchdown, overthrowing an open Jake Kummerow for another potential score, having a near interception drop. But he's a good because he's unflappable. Touchdown Josh Allen was 30 of 47, 314 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also showed no effects of a foot injury that bothered him the past couple of weeks. He rushed 64 yards on 12 carries. He is the real deal, the 3rd year out of Wyoming. Really like the way he's playing. But it's all fair and level. When you look at what happened also with the Bills, you have Isaiah McKenzie. He was placed the team with think of how good he was. 11 of 12 targets, 125 yards on a touchdown. They have players that step up and make plays. I really like the way that, and I kind of eat a little bit of crow. I didn't think that Buffalo would go in there and get a win. Not over Belichick being able to beat them before and figured out how to work against that team running the ball. I thought they had to throw the ball more, and they did, but it just didn't work. When you look at Damian Harris, the leading rusher for the Patriots, he had rushed for 3 touchdowns, 103 yards on 18 carries. Maybe they should have given him the ball 25 times. Does that make sense? You have 103 yards on 18 carries. You would think you run the ball more. I mean, just my opinion. But the reason they had Mac Jones, they should have ran the ball more like they did in the first game. That's my opinion. Mac Jones was 14 of 32, 145 yards and 2 interceptions. Isn't that something? Even though a second pick was a desperate game, a desperate throw at the end of the game. But when you think about all the prognosticators saying you got to get these guys, they're going to make your team win. I don't see it so far in the young season it's always the veteran players that do better to help their teams win. I mean, only 2 Patriots had more than 20 receiving yards. Jacoby Myers, 6 for 59, and Kendrick Bourne with 2 for 33. The carry was 2 of 15 and stepped in for Nelson Aguilar. I mean, everybody has their own thoughts about how good the Patriots really are. Maybe they picked too soon. They're going to have to go on the road, but do you trust Mac Jones to win a game for you if you go on the road? I don't think they're trusting Mac Jones to win a game for them. Not if you're the New England Patriots now. But if you run the ball, which has to be the blueprint, just my opinion, I think they'll have a better chance. I want to say congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams. They are neck and neck with the Arizona Cardinals for first place in the NFC West with a win over the Minnesota Vikings. It was 30-23. And when I think about the time of possession was even at 30 minutes for both teams. So that was a balanced game. The Vikings were able to benefit from some kind of unusual Detroit Lions-type Matthew Stafford mistakes. He threw 3 interceptions. That's not going to help him in the playoffs at all. He kind of reverted back to what he was doing in Detroit. But it wasn't his fault. Never is his fault. It was poor decision-making and bad field vision, right? Everybody blames the receivers. But sometimes, if he has that kind of performance in a playoff game, it's going to hurt the Rams because you can't do that. Stafford had a horrible game, 21 of 37, 197 yards, and 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in a stadium that he had played in before because they're in the same division with Detroit when Detroit was going and playing the Vikings in that dome. But it's NFL football. Players can struggle and still win because of their defense. Now, despite the struggles, you have Cooper Kupp has a strong performance, 10 of his 13 targets for 109 yards. He's the real deal. And then Higbee was 5 catches, 41 yards. Odell Beckham Jr. 4 catches, 37 yards. The only other Rams with double-digit receiving yards. And then I think he got another touchdown also. So it doesn't seem to be the problem that they said he was in Cleveland. He's helping the Rams win. He's a solid player. When I think about Sonny Michel was the top performer for the Rams, as he handled all but 1 carry. He had 131 yards on 27 carries. And then Henderson's 1 run was a burst of 17 yards. But Michel's he's a good running back in the backfield for the Rams. They're very talented. Had they not had the 3 interceptions, maybe they had 2 more touchdowns coming. It's all fair and love and war. I think for Kirk Cousins, had a decent game overall. He was 27 of 38, 315 yards, 1 touchdown. Also had an interception. So that's part of what they've been doing this year, turning the ball over. But there's something that I want to bring up. Jefferson barely did anything in the first half. He's the best receiver, or at least one of the top 2 receivers. 2 catches, 14 yards. He exploded after halftime, snatching 8 of his 12 targets, 116 yards. Why not throw him more in the first half? He needed some come up after Adam Thielen had 3 catches for 40 yards, got banged up after making a big catch, and Osborne had 5 catches, 68 yards. You got to know who your go-to guy is. Bill Walsh always scripted plays, the first 15 to 20 plays, and Jerry Rice was always a part of that. All's fair and love and war. The Philadelphia Eagles with a 34-10 win over the Giants. What a game by Philadelphia. That's a team that can be scary in the playoffs. When you think about it, touchdown Jalen Hurts, I don't know why people criticize him. He plays a lot like Donovan McNabb that did take the Eagles to the Super Bowl. He plays a lot like Donovan McNabb. And when you think about it, he opened the game 3 for 10, had 11 yards. People think, oh my God, what's wrong with him? But then they started playing better. The Eagles, they found a way to run the ball, and they outgained the Giants 304 yards to 94 yards. Touchdown Jalen Hurts had a stat that went for 17 to 29, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Didn't play nearly as well as the first half of the game, but he got a win. And I hear national media, for a guy who wins most of his games, they're always trying to say, yeah, but we don't know if he's the guy for us. But they moved around their draft picks to get Trevor Lawrence, and they won't even win 4 games this year at Jacksonville. Same thing with Zach Wilson. They won't win 4 games with the Jets. And Mac Jones, because New England, they're winning games. Trey Lance with San Francisco, he hasn't been able to play that much. He's been banged up a lot. Justin Fields for the Bears, they had a win, but he's come off of injury also. But all touchdown Jalen Hurts does is win. And people want to say, yeah, but I don't know if he's the guy we're looking for. What are you looking for? Guys that lose? Doesn't make any sense. I think put the thought that I think Vermeil told Jaworski one time back in the 80s, he said, "You're my guy, I'm not going to bench you. You got to let him know he's your guy and just stick with him." That's just my opinion, because the Eagles have a good team. As for the Giants, there's nothing positive about the team. I don't know what to say. Fromm was pretty poor for an NFL quarterback. Colin Kaepernick can't get a tryout, who has a record for when he played for the 49ers, and I think he passed for over 300 yards and rushed for over 100 yards playoff game versus Green Bay. People say, yeah, that's 2013. But think about this number. Fromm was a quarterback for the New York Giants. He was 6 for 17, 25 yards, and an interception before being pulled in favor of Mike Glennon. But he's Caucasian, and they get 10, 15 chances. I'm going to say it again. He got an NFL paycheck over the weekend. He threw the ball 17 times. He completed 6 passes for 25 yards. And he gets to play NFL football. Colin Kaepernick took the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And they keep saying, well, we don't know if he can play or not. Some things are just so biased in our society, and bigotry always finds its way. There seems to always be an attack on black men for some reason. Jalen Hurts, all he does is win. Oh, well, we don't know if he's the right guy for the job. I mean, I don't know if he's our guy. Dak Prescott set a record, and I mean, they had such an explosive game. I don't know that Dak Prescott's the guy that's going to get us to the promised land. He's black. There's always some crap to say about, well, I don't know if Kyler Murray's the guy that can lead the Cardinals to win the NFC West. They're tied for first place. I just notice it all the time. I just do. You got to bring it out. No Giant had more than 30 receiving yards. None. Isn't that something? Saquon Barkley was not part of the passing game at all. Caught just one pass for -4 yards. On the ground, he had 32 yards on 10 attempts. Some things are just incredible. It really is. Some things are just incredible. And I don't know the whole thing behind it, but I believe in giving people a chance and let the best players show that they're worthy of it. Because if you don't give them the chance, then how do you help your team win? It's just a matter of who gets the opportunity. Everybody needs the opportunity. And that's why when I see these quarterbacks that are throwing for 25 yards in the NFL, and you won't even give Colin Kaepernick a call? People say, what about Cam Newton? He's not having the best year. He threw for more than 25 yards. I mean, come on. It makes sense. Everybody has thoughts on who's going to get a chance and why somebody's washed up or not. I believe in giving people a chance. If they're good enough, then it will show. But 25 yards for the New York Football Giants? Joe Namath could have thrown for more than 25 yards in that game. They could have brought back Manning. Eli could have thrown for more than 25 yards. But think about it. This guy got an NFL paycheck. Not knocking him. If you can get that kind of money for throwing for 25 yards in an NFL football game, so be it. All fair and board. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When I come back, we're going to talk more about what happened with the defending NFL champion New England Patriots with a game that helped them clinch the NFC South, in the words of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 20 podcast applications all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. And streaming on 4 TV applications. The defending NFL champions from Super Bowl 55, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 32, Carolina Panthers 6. The Buccaneers lost Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Leonard Fournette due to injury. Surprising last week to the Saints, they were shut out 9-0. The team turned it around. Antonio Brown, he made a return from the suspension, and it didn't look like he missed a beat. He was 10 of 15, 101 yards, and the guy looked like he never missed a beat. And this is the team that was shut out last week. You think about the contributions for the Buccaneers. They were able to win. They outgained the Panthers 391 yards to 273, had more than 2.2 yards per play. Averaging by that, when you think about it, Tom Brady, he was 18 of 30, 232 yards and a touchdown. Not his best performance, but they won the game. You think about Fournette being out. Ronald Jones handled 27 carries. He had 20 of 27 carries between him and Vaughn. And then later, I think outgained Jones by only because of a 55-yard run. Jones had 68 yards and a touchdown on 20 carries. That's a decent day's work. But there's something about Tampa that just finds a way to win. But at the same time, as for the Panthers, they utilize a platoon system between Cam Newton and Sam Darnold. I don't think that's good. It gets the receivers and the quarterbacks out of tune, if that makes sense to you. Newton started and led an early field goal drive, but struggled after that. And then Carolina had Sam Darnold come onto the field. He had a 63-yard bomb pass to Hugh Smith. And despite that, the Panthers, they removed Darnold immediately after reinserted Cam Newton into the game. And he had a bad pass. Maybe he's just not healed from what he had with his shoulder. I don't know. But Newton barely completed half of his passes. He was 7 of 13 for 61 yards. So maybe it was the East Coast, because New York Giants quarterback had 25 yards. You think about that. Newton outplayed Darnold, went 15 of 32, 190 yards, but Darnold's start line, it wasn't pretty either. Carolina's just a bad team right now. I don't know what to say about them. They're just going to have to rebuild. I know there were people, the fans were doing like they were Philadelphia fans saying, fire the coach, fire the coach. I don't think you need to fire the coach. They just got to work together and decide what quarterback you're going to go with so the first team can get used to him. And that way they'll get a better chance to have cohesion. That's just my opinion. I want to say congratulations, Tampa. First time they won the NFC South, and it's been over a decade. I'm not 100% right on the year, so I'm not going to say that, but I know it's been over 10 years. But congratulations for that. Now, the Texans, what a shocker. This is why I don't bet. Who would have ever thought that the Houston Texans would have been able to knock out the Los Angeles Chargers 41-29? The Thunderbolts were primed to try to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West, but it didn't happen. They barely had a roster going into the game. Their starting lineup and many players were sidelined with minor injuries. It's too many to even talk about for the Houston Texans. But I was saying last week, this team they fight hard. Even if they don't win all their games, they fight hard. I think the biggest problem for the Chargers all year has been their run defense, and that was prevalent in the contest. They have a way of giving up big plays. When you think about it, they had a guy by the name of Buckhead. He looked like he was Earl Campbell, had 149 yards and 2 touchdowns on 22 carries. Whereas Freeman, 12 for 34 yards and a touchdown, called back because of a penalty. But I think about this team, the Chargers, that run defense is going to get them an early exit out of the playoffs if they make the playoffs. I mean, I just think it will. They have a team that can score on offense, but never overlooking them. Lose to the Houston Texans, which will be in San Francisco. I'll be at that game in San Francisco at Levi Stadium, the final game regular season for the 49ers with the Bang Bang Niner game. They can't overlook this Houston Texan team because that's a team that's got a little win in their chest, beating the team in Los Angeles and the Chargers that's ready for the playoffs run. I don't know what happened in that game. It just doesn't make any sense. Chargers, you shouldn't lose that game if you want to be a playoff team. Now, touchdown Justin Herbert. He did not take advantage of an easy matchup, in my opinion. I think he's the real deal. He's 27 of 35, 336 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Now, one of those was a pick six at the end. People say miscommunication. There's always something wrong when you can throw a pick six. But I expected more out of the Chargers than to lose that game, even if you have a turnover. This shouldn't happen, not for a playoff team, but things happen because they're human. The Cincinnati Bengals, 41, the Baltimore Ravens, 21, and the Ravens really behind the 8 ball in this game as they were forced into starting the third-string quarterback in Josh Johnson. Huntley was out. Superman Jackson was out. And they had no chance. They just hidden. By halftime, Bengals led 31-7. In fact, this game is by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all this exotic meats? And a Bengal and a Raven are exotic meats, if that makes sense to you. But got to give it to him. Touchdown Joe Burrow was an amazing. First half alone, 18 of 21, 298 yards and 3 touchdowns. He beat the Rams. I mean, think about what he did to that defense for the Ravens. Almost 300 yards passing. He finished 37 of 46, 500. I gotta say this. I gotta say this. I gotta say this because I may have missed some thoughts. That was in the first half. He finished 37 of 46, 525 yards and 4 touchdowns. It marked the fourth best single-game passing yardage performance in NFL history behind Norm Van Brocken's 554 yards and Warren Moon's 527 yards and Matt Schaub's 527 yards. Warren Moon's the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to be a Hall of Famer in Canada and the CFL with 5 Grey Cup championships and then a Hall of Famer in the NFL. The only one to do that's Warren Moon. And he couldn't even get drafted in the NFL when he came out of Washington, University of Washington. But congratulations, touchdown, Joe Burrows. The Bengals receivers crossed 50-yard. Think about this, the century mark leading the way with a big afternoon. Higgins caught 12 of 13 passes for 195 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Chase, 7 of his 10 receptions went for 125 yards. That's just a good football team. And they're hot and cold, but they were big enough to get that done. But, you know, Baltimore they were just outmatched. They just didn't have an answer for it. The Detroit Lions and the Atlanta Falcons, also sponsored by the Big C Burger, is a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all this exotic meats. The Atlanta Falcons 20, Detroit Lions 16. And why did Jared Goff have to be ruled out with a cold? Isn't that something? Atlanta has a shot at making the postseason. They still do. Matt Ryan, Arthur Blank likes him. They have a chance of making the playoffs. It's a team that's been up and down all season long. He was 18 to 24, 215 yards on a touchdown. Patterson had 14 yards on a touchdown on 7 carries. Pitts had 6 catches, 102 yards. Boyle was 24 34, 187 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 interception. And Jamal Williams ran for 77 yards on 19 carries. Ramon St. Brown, 9 catches, 91 yards and a touchdown. Atlanta, they're hot and cold too. Hot and cold, but they still have an outside chance at a playoff run. The Chicago Bears, 25, Seattle Seahawks, 24. This game was sponsored by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all this exotic meats? And the Bear and the Seahawks are exotic. I wonder really how they would taste on the burger. Probably pretty good. But when you think about a game, did not have any playoff relevance. Touchdown Justin Fields was out with an injury. And so Chicago just put him on the bench and get him healthy for next year. The Seahawks grabbed the early lead when touchdown DK Metcalf. He torched Thomas Graham for a long catch of 41 yards and a touchdown. He hasn't had the best season either this year. The Seahawks tacked on a field goal, took a 17-7 lead in the halftime. But midway through the third quarter, the Bears put together a good scoring drive. Khalil Herbert had a short touchdown to cut the Seattle lead to 17-14. And it's all fair and love and war, but Seattle's in a rebuilding mode. This is the first time Pete Carroll will have a losing season, I believe, since he coached the New York Jets way back in the day. Isn't that something? I've never seen Seattle lose and not have a winning season with Pete Carroll since he took over the coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Foles was 24-35, 250 yards passing and a touchdown. Montgomery had 45 yards and a touchdown on 21 carries. Touchdown Russell Wilson was 16 of 27, 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. Penny ran for 135 yards on 17 carries and a touchdown. And Seattle Seahawks, they just have to rebuild. They have to rebuild. I would love to see Russell Houdini Wilson stay there in Seattle because he is Seattle. I mean, seen so many great players over the years up there, but he is Mr. Seattle. But sometimes people just want to move on to a different season or a different team, and that may happen. Even Pete Carroll, there's some talk about Pete Carroll. Does he really want to come back being 70 years old? They got to make some changes in Seattle. Thinking of changes, Kansas City Chiefs 36, Pittsburgh Steelers 10. Here's another big game. Travis Kelce out. The defense had to step it up, and that's exactly what the Chiefs did. And putting 30 points, actually 36 points on the board. I felt bad for the Steelers, only getting 10 points. Big Ben Roethlisberger, felt bad for him. But Mahomes, think about this. 23 of 30, 258 yards. He threw just 5 times in the second half. Had 205 yards by halftime. And he could have crossed 400 yards, but they were thinking about winning more than trying to pad the numbers. With Kelce being sidelined, Byron Pringle stepped up 6 passes for a team-high 75 yards. Tyreek Hill 2 for 19. Nicole Hardman 3 for 31 also scored. The Chiefs ran the ball well despite losing Clyde Edwards-Helaire for a chunk of the game with a collarbone injury. He gained 27 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries. I got to bring you this number that, you know, when you see great players over the years, Najee Harris led the rushing for the Steelers. but it was not very productive for him. 29 rushing yards by halftime. He had 93 yards on 19 attempts. A decent game, but it just ineffective lately in the game for the Steelers. He also caught 5 passes for 17 receiving yards. Big Ben Roethlisberger, feel bad watching him play. He was 23 of 35, 159 yards and 1 touchdown. And he had the interception. Not all his fault. He had some drops also from the receivers. But when I think about Big Ben and the Steelers, this era is coming to an end. It's coming to a closure. But he's a guy that's taken the Steelers to 3 Super Bowls. They beat Seattle in 1. They beat the Cardinals in the other. And they lost to Green Bay. But it's probably his last season in Pittsburgh. I know people say maybe, maybe not. But you can see there's not a lot of spring left in his step. The loss I almost missed it. The Las Vegas Raiders 17, Denver Broncos 13. The Broncos had a lot of hope going into this game. But the Raiders, think about this. They outgained them 342 to 158 in the game. They also won the time of possession by 13 minutes. This is a big win for the Raiders. They got a win over Cleveland last week on the road, and that was pushed back. It was supposed to be a Sunday, but I think it was a Monday or Tuesday game. So they had a short week for the Raiders. But to come back and win packed house, Allegiant Stadium, down in beautiful Las Vegas, the defense couldn't get off the field. The Raiders rammed the ball down Denver's throat. The Broncos had 23rd ranked defense heading into the game. Josh Jacobs had 129 yards on 27 carries. Just a great game by the Raiders. They won a tough game thanks to the running game, touchdown Derek Carr. Consistently had great situations to pass. Misfired just 5 times. He was 20 of 25, 201 yards and a touchdown. Did have 1 interception. But when you think about this team, the Raiders, they've had a lot to deal with this year. And this is a team that if they beat Indianapolis on the road and come back home and beat the Chargers in week 17 or week 18, but the 17th game, they'll be a playoff team for the first time since leaving Oakland. Isn't that something? Jack Del Rio was the head coach when that happened. All's fair and level war. I'm going to say, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it, but I got to say it. How about the Cowboys? When you think about how about the Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson spoke about that back in the day. But the Cowboys, what a game. 56-14 over the Washington football team. There's so many people that want to knock Dak Prescott. When you think about what he did, touchdown Dak Prescott. He was 28 of 39 for 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. Isn't that something? What a star performance. Amari Cooper, like Dak Prescott, had been in a bit of a kind of a funkin' lately. 11 catches, 85 yards and a touchdowns. But I'm proud about the way Dak Prescott played because in Dallas, they love him in Dallas, but national media hates him for some reason. They always want to say, yeah, but. All they're going to do is win the NFC East for the second year in a row. That's my opinion. Everybody has a love-hate relationship with Dallas. People talk about what happened with the Washington football team, the guys fighting on the sideline. Football players fight. All's fair and love and war. But Dallas, congratulations, winning the NFC East, even though people don't like you. I'm going to run to tonight's game, the already underway. Miami Dolphins have won 6 in a row at the New Orleans Saints. And that's a game where you feel, at least I feel, that the Dolphins team, they're a lot better down the stretch than they were starting the year. Brian Flores really doing his thing and helping that team good on hold, getting some footing under them. I really do feel that the Dolphins, they have New England later in the year, and the way they're playing football right now, you could have 2 Alabama quarterbacks going after each other. Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa. Which one would get that win? You know, Miami already beat New England up in Foxborough earlier in the year. And now they'll get them at home. But that's the last game of the season. We'll see what happens going up to it. But tonight, for me, Tua has to just have a short passing game and not turn the ball over. And that'll give them a chance to win. I love NFL football. Everybody loves it. I just hope that people can stay healthy. It's hard to keep talking about COVID because so many players have come down with COVID. And they're not being in the hospital. It seems like we're announcing COVID like we're announcing the flu. Not being insensitive, but they're saying, oh, this guy has COVID, that guy has COVID. They got to get on COVID protocol. Hey, they're playing next week. It's not like they're in the hospital. I don't want to seem like an ignorant or insensitive, but come on. They're going to start saying when someone has a flu, you can't play now. the hospitals are not packed with people. You got 200 to 300 people on an airline. You got 18,000 people in an NBA arena, 70,000 people in an NFL stadium. But if someone tests positive for COVID, this new variant, they can't play. But they're not keeping people out of the stands. The grocery stores are full. But why make it seem like we gotta stop activity? NHL shut down, but the airports are still, I know they had some people on pause. Whatever it is what it is. I just want to say, I would give our first responders a lot of praise, and that's what I'm going to say. But come on, there's too much well, let me just shut up. Everybody get ready for some basketball. I'm going to run down tonight's NBA basketball, then I'm going to shut up. Loose lips and chips. Tonight, NBA basketball is scheduled Monday, December 27th. You have Houston already underway at Charlotte. Chicago Bulls at Atlanta. That game's on NBA TV, tipped off at 4:30 p.m. Boston at Minnesota, tipped off at 5 p.m. Utah at the San Antonio Spurs. That game already tipped off at 5:30. Memphis down in the desert, taking on the Phoenix Suns that were had by the Golden State Warriors over the weekend. That game tipped off at 6 o'clock p.m. Dallas is at Portland. That game tips off in a little bit at 7 o'clock p.m. And Brooklyn's at the LA Clippers. All's fair in love and war. Hope you had a great time watching NBA basketball over the weekend. And people have stats like LeBron James passed Kobe Bryant for the most points scored on Christmas. And Steph Curry had his biggest Christmas Day outing in the history of the universe. All's fair in love and war. I hope everyone had a very, very Merry Christmas. And making sure that Santa brought you everything you wanted. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sing like a bee. You rumble, young man, rumble with all you've got to use. How can you lose? All of it say, I'm so pretty. I'm so pretty I can't possibly be beat because all these big cheeseburgers make me light on my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly and I sing like a bee. I'm always rumbling, young man, rumbling. It's all fair in other words. Oh, as my beautiful mother always says, there's no excuse for racism or domestic violence. You know, any man, woman, or child going to that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help because no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.